All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're going to bring you some more Dota action here at the the Matrix Mavericks warehouse.
Yeah, that's right. Matrix Maverick House, exactly like that. You did it. Well done.
I got it out. And this is post-bug eating, but that's a story for another time. Of course, brought to you by VS Game. We have something pretty special. It's the HSEL here. Of course, the high school league with Grey Gaming, or Grey taking on Glenwood High School. I really have had a fantastic time here, I must say as well. I spent some time chatting to some of the parents, some of the teachers, etc. over the course of this weekend. We were very young into it. Obviously, first of actual gaming, but we were here yesterday as well, just setting up and getting everyone signed up. So it was a pretty interesting experience. Once again, actually worthwhile checking out, especially if you're one of the more accomplished Dota players in the country.
Yeah.
You find yourself in the area, it really would be great, I think, for many to come share your own experiences. I'm sure they will take a huge amount of it. Interestingly enough, we have also got some pretty well-known players in the CSGO scene. Well, one at least, and missed them.
Yeah.
Actually playing in this tournament as well, so pretty amazing to see, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a high school league. When they say high school, they don't necessarily just mean amateur, right? A lot of the pool of available new talent that we're going to be seeing coming up through the ranks is going to be kids that are in high school, kids that are in these situations where you have to play with somebody, right? You have to play in a particular scene, play with those around you, learn from them, learn from the best. One thing that I really am looking forward to in this particular tournament, and what I'm loving the most, honestly, is we were speaking about this earlier, seeing teams develop, seeing teams get better. As you were mentioning, speaking with a couple of the teachers, the parents, and a lot of them have been emphasizing how much they want their teams and their players to go back, re-watch what they've seen, understand it better, learn from this experience. So this is going to be just more about, not that much about this one set of games, this one particular weekend, but this is a building platform for the future for most of these teams. I mean, Glenwood, for example, this is their first tournament together, first time playing as five properly in this particular setting. Probably the first time they've been playing captain's mode, you know, and now you're here, you're playing, you're doing this thing, and you're not just doing it in a complete vacuum. There's feedback from people around you, there's other teams you're playing with, people that you can physically go to after the game and say, hey man, what happened? How did this go south? What were you guys thinking? And that's that's really not an opportunity that comes by every day. So I'm really glad that these kids all get to be a part of it at this point.
There's also something really cool about this as well. You think about it, Grey Gaming, first five.
Yeah.
Obviously a reference to, common naming convention, first 15, first 11, all of that kind of stuff. They're literally the first five.
Yeah, they are actually.
There was never a first five before them, so it's actually really cool in its own right that they're a part of history. And I'm sure, I think it is, unless there's some kind of apocalypse, actually, gaming is going to just keep growing, and they'll reach a stage where it would be strange for a school not to include this kind of thing. So to be the first team that's ever represented a particular school.
As a first five.
As the first five,
yeah.
And as one of the first schools to even have it. These guys are kind of legendary in their own right. Everyone here.
Yeah. It's kind of weird sometimes to be part of history. You don't have to be an important part of history. You know, not everybody needs to be Mandela, but this is still good. This is still you've staked out a place in a positive direction for the rest of the world, which is nice to see. And that's also really nice to see. We were talking earlier about what Glenwood should be doing, how should they be approaching the game. And they pick Lion first. What's the thing we're discussing? They need to pick stuns, need to get things for control. So now they have something.
And this is a way better, I think. I think they were opening with Viper before as well, as I recall. And obviously Viper, Razor in the first game didn't really work out so well. I like the fact that Lion, a far more respectable first pick, and really, we kept saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it, is that every game these teams get better and better.
Yeah.
And let's see what you got. I'm totally happy with that.
That's perfectly fine.
Addresses two of the issues right off the bat that we've had. I'm not a massive fan, obviously, of opening with two support heroes.
Yeah. For both teams, actually, yeah.
But, now we're just adding, and this is what's going to keep happening. The more you improve, we're going to keep adding layers on top of it.
Yeah.
So next trick, don't open with two support heroes.
Yeah.
Now that you're getting that right, just know that you want to mix it up a bit, keep people guessing, because it does lock you in to a very particular place now. They know what your supports are, they know what's in their kit, and they can feel potentially in this regard, for an example, heroes that would suffer against you, say something like a Shadow Fiend, totally off their radar now, because they know that the rotation from both those two heroes would be a massive threat to them.
Yeah.
And potentially you add in something like the Crystal Maiden a little bit later on, suddenly you have like a real kill condition on your opposing mid, and they have no way to counter it. So that's the kind of next policy to endorse. The better start and draft, 100%. Next time around, don't pick two supports up right off the bat.
Yeah. And that applies for, Grey Gaming's been spending all weekend winning, or at the very least today, but even them, you can still do it, but it's preferable not to. And one of the things that we should be expecting as well is that Grey Gaming now, the impetus is on them sort of to move around the map and make things happen. You don't want to pick Tusk and Earth Spirit and not do anything with these two heroes. And at the same time, Glenwood, with Lion and Crystal Maiden, you have a bit more allowance to sort of soak in pressure and wait for things to happen. You don't have to be playing hyper aggressively yourself. So they can sort of draft to their advantage. Just pick like Centaurs and DKs or whatever. Just heroes that don't die. They just stake out a claim, sit somewhere and stay alive forever.
I have a question for you. When talking about gaming as a fairly entry-level thing for these teams, what are the kind of bans that you think would be really maximizing efficiency with limited information about who your opponents pick? Like, what are the key bans?
Key bans. So I've seen some of them in this game already. Night Stalker being banned out is very, very good. Banning out, you can ban out Axe every now and then. It's decent enough, but you primarily want to ban out heroes that just change the nature of the game. So banning out Faceless Void, banning out Naga Sirens, banning out Maranas, banning out Enigmas. These heroes where they only need to do one thing to fundamentally change how the game can go, regardless of whether or not you were winning. This game, there are not that many heroes that they've done that with. But that's the safest option. Like, this is whether or not you feel you're better than your opponent or they're better than you, unless you have like direct information about what they plan to do. Ban what easily wins, and you put yourself in a really good position. This is interesting. Okay, I like this. Very often you see Timbersaws getting away with murder. This game, this is actually an amazing Bloodseeker game for them. Because if you just rupture Timbersaw, Earth Spirit, or Tusk, that's it. Heroes do nothing. And you can just run away from them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say obviously Tusk the least offended by it, but Earth Spirit, his escape mechanism gone.
Yeah.
And Timbersaw, it's not even an escape mechanism, it's an actual necessary tool, item in the toolkit that allows them to move around the map to actually be a threat. Right now, you're standing there waiting for that to end, and you will break yourself if you try to move around with Eruption on top of you. Also, low, I would say, low skill requirement on this. It's not something that you have to get pinpoint accuracy to get right. No, you literally look at that Timbersaw, probably the core here. Drop the Rupture, one person you don't have to worry about for a while.
Yeah, and they also have a situation here where any of these three heroes that get silenced between Tusk, Earth Spirit, or Timbersaw, really, really game-changing. So if you get lucky enough to see a snowball coming in advance, you drop the Blood Right, guarantee a stun in that area. Yeah, and like you mentioned, not very difficult to play. So he can just buy SNY, buy BKB, and go and run at people.
So I think now, what do you want to see? Something because one thing I do feel like Glenwood don't have right now is frontliners ready to soak up some damage. Because in Dota, you definitely don't use the concepts of tanks like you would in some other titles like Overwatch or World of Warcraft. But you definitely need something that's not so squishy here. What's going to be?
That's fine.
And it's a stunner. I'm so happy with this draft.
Yeah.
And all of these characters use mana, so they're built around this Crystal Maiden.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they managed to watch some of the stuff, or this is just by chance, but this looks like a totally different drafting from a totally different side right now.
Yeah, they have some stun, you have some AoE control thanks to that set stun. You have the Warcry as well, which is going to be really effective in a game like this, stopping some of the small dot damage that comes from Earth Spirits and Timbersaw. But one of the things I also really like about this pick, it's a hero that can buy a Blink Dagger and start the fights for you. One of the key things in Dota is being able to begin engagements. Doesn't matter how good your lineup is at fighting if you can never find the fights in question. And Sven can help you attain those fights. And they have this Bloodseeker, so Bloodseeker is going to do two things for them. In the previous games, we saw that they were struggling with making sure that they keep up with overall lost hits in the safe lane on their carry. Now with Bloodseeker and with Sustain, right? We saw a lot of times they had to walk back to base in order to be able to stay alive. But with Bloodseeker being in the fray, thanks to Blood Rage, you can always supply somebody on the team with free heals, provided that they're getting the lost hits. And you get vision on the enemy team when somebody is low, trying to run away, juke and jive. So really nice from them. I also like from Grey Gaming, from their perspective, they pick Lina now. I personally don't fully like the Lina because it's a lot of magical damage that they're doing right now. They don't have anything physical. But provided that they get a hero that just is all physical damage at the end of the draft, this can still work out because now they have some decent magical burst. They've got some setup that's already available through Tusk and Earth Spirit. And they have a hero that can actually survive the mid lane versus OD. Timbersaw, okay, buddy, you're off lane now. I'm sorry. There's no way you're going to put this Timbersaw mid. But they have the option to be able to go in fairly different directions if they really wanted to.
I think I'm pretty happy with this. I'm looking at the Glenwood draft. I think they've done a fantastic job here. This is a lot better. I kind of feel like maybe missing a bit more of a utility hero in their pickup. I mean, Lion and Crystal Maiden, both going to be wanting to play from the outside, so not for your pipe carriers or anything like that. So they don't have a more tankier core. Maybe something like an Ogre may have been a better pick, arguably, than the Lion, but nothing too terrifying there. I think maybe just missing a little bit of that utility that would have dealt them a lot of good work. But chalk and cheese, much better draft from coming out here. I think Grey Gaming, the draft is fine.
Yeah,
We
it's
haven't spoken
okay.
much about it. It's I think we still probably back Grey as the side that's likely to take this matchup. They're showing to be a very strong side in the previous match they played.
I think this could actually be, depending on how they play, obviously, right? But Glenwood could actually win this game. I'm thinking about this matchup between the Ursa and the Bloodseeker, and one of the things that can easily happen in this situation is that if Bloodseeker is able to rupture, there's so many rupture targets that are really good here. If you rupture Timbersaw or rupture Ursa, it changes a lot because both those heroes hate being kited around. Or you're playing Ursa into a game with an OD. So if you don't have BKB and you get Astral, that's it. Your fight's over as Ursa. You don't really contribute anything to the fight after that. The same applies for Timbersaw as well. You can easily just get Astraled and you no longer are relevant. I'm personally, if I'm honest, I prefer the Glen draft here. Like the Grey draft is good, it's decent, but I really like what they're doing with this kiting mechanisms. The one thing I do agree with you upon is that they lack utility. Nobody can buy the mech. No one really buys Crimson Guard in their lineup. Nobody is gonna buy Guardian Greaves. No one's gonna buy a pipe. Maybe Sven will buy the pipe. It's possible.
Yeah, but I think we both agree. Not a big fan. I think once again, I think the Lion was an ogre. That would probably be a rating for me for draft. I think you generally want one of your cores to be willing to fight.
Yeah.
One of your supports willing to fight, and in this case, you have two that want to play from the outside. You do have a fairly meaty front liner in the Sven, and Bloodseeker obviously also pretty keen to get involved. The problem is that it's very easy to deal with both of these two heroes when there's nothing else causing direct frontal assault for you. So
Yeah.
still pretty good. I wouldn't be upset about playing with this set of heroes at all. But on the other side, I must say, it does look like a more complete draft. I think the Bloodseeker is a concern for them, and the fact that it shuts down so much, but it's only going to shut down one unit. But we'll see how that works out. They are going to test for this ruin top lane here. Both Killer Wabbit and Red Dragon were keen to contest on the other side of the river. And they don't quite get the initiation they want to, but now they may find themselves in a little bit of harm's way because they can't actually get the position they were originally in. So they have to force back the Outwall Devourer, but they do have stuns. So they could have gone for it.
Oh my god. Oh my
That's 4
god.
runs.
Yeah, that's 4. That's 4. That's unfortunate. But they got forced off for the top onion as well as the bottom one. One of the things.
The bottom they didn't have to because they actually had the cooldown and checked on the Sven, so they were both stacking up on it. You literally just drop the stun round about the 1 second mark.
Yeah.
Make sure that you get the bounty run, and Sven is a fairly tanky unit. He's not going to take much pressure from a Earth Spirit and a Timbersaw level 1.
It's interesting that you say that because I was about to make a similar point about what happened at top because Drosstar had the opportunity to get off the 2-man Earth Spike and allow Maniac to be able to claim the bounty rune. But it went south. It didn't really work out for them. At the end of the day, the more important thing is to make sure you don't die. But when you have the opportunity, always try to grab the bounties themselves. And top, you know what I'm looking forward to seeing, right? I like the fact that already, I was expecting that they were going to put this Timbersaw on the off lane, make sure that the OD would match up against the Lina rather instead. But the Timbersaw can also apply some pressure towards Sven, make it a little bit harder for Red Dragon to farm.
I hear you. That is a very fair point. It does have a going thing that he can actually spell Red Dragon.
Yeah.
So really a step ahead of certain industry giants here.
Hashtag no bias, man. At all. Shout out Red Dragon, buy their stuff. Anyway.
You literally wear like a Red Dragon keychain or something.
Yeah, it's actually, if the camera was on right now, you'd see it right behind us. Oh, snowball top. Somebody might die.
A very low Drosstar is getting caught up by that tag team and will be brought down. What a spell, man.
Oh, yeah, tag team with Ursa with the Fury Swipes and Overpower. Yeah, it seems pretty balanced to me. It was actually absurd how quickly he died. Took way too much damage.
In retrospect, also, what a powerful lane. I mean, you do have the control from the Lion, but...
Oh, bottom lane?
Okay. Let's see. Yusuf trying to beat down onto CM. He has taken a lot of damage. Likely going to fall. Gets out the Frost Blast and will be brought down. So I like the fact that he actually cast the spell at least, so he can go there. Nice to get off a little bit of damage. Actually did hurt them quite a bit. Only criticism, you don't need to turn cast that. Just when you AoE can cast in front of you, get the same thing out, save you a little bit of HP. I think you die anyway, but something to consider for next time. Top lane, they are going to re-engage you onto Menek. Do you get off the Earth Spike? It's on 2.
Nice.
Very nice work there by Drosa, helping out his call.
Yeah, important to make sure that you keep your heroes alive. Unfortunately for them, I think the one aspect of the game they're going to have to look at the most is making sure that they land these last hits. Because it's all well and good to have a great draft, but you need to be able to get money, and the only way to get money in this game without killing heroes is to get these last hits. So very necessary thing for them. They're slowly but surely starting to try and get there, though.
Yeah, I think that has been a concern in all the series seen is that they do fall quite far behind on the last hits early on. And I think this is one of those key things you start teaching yourself is the balance of the lane, make sure that you control the creep waves by only hitting things once, and then making sure that you do find those last hits.
Yeah.
We'll see how well they do here, but at the moment you can see that they are pulling away quite significantly. Double the CS on the Ursa than there is on your mid ODs. So obviously that's not a great situation, especially since I think this is I wouldn't say this outright favors the OD, but I do think he has an advantage over Lina in some ways. I think it's arguable, but the main thing is that you really don't want to be this far behind.
Yeah, being this like at
in
the
fact, I think he may just get solo killed.
Nice
That's
dead, yeah.
So
Oof.
that's certainly a problem with Lucas, making no mistake of it in the mid lane, picking up his first kill. And 4-0 is problematic. They're going to re-engage in bottom lane as they did in fact catch out the Crystal Maiden this time around. Will certainly be brought down again, standing his ground, but once more falling. At least it wasn't the core. That's some value.
They did a good job of making sure that Red Dragon moved away from where the actual attack was happening, so he didn't end up losing his life. Unfortunately, though, Crystal Maiden going down, not really an issue for the CM directly, but it's an issue in the sense that now Timbersaw is almost level 4. This lane becomes a lot more difficult to deal with in general. There's actually kill threat now, which they're going to try and jump onto him.
They go wide with the rolling, but Red Dragon actually picking a nice line. Did not go straight back. Even getting a solve out, will walk into that timber chain though and will be brought down in the end. But I like the fact that he didn't just try to run back down and he tried to stay away from the tree line.
Yeah.
Eventually was brought down. So
in that situation, if he had a bit more mana...
sorry, top lane, they will pick up the Lion who was rotated on by Lucas. Now they're turning their
Rabbits here.
Rabbits. They go wide with the Light Strike Array, but they're still going to try to bring him down. They will do so successfully with the Laguna Blade.
Nicely done by the Lina there, making sure to get the final blast out. The OD showed up top to try and make sure he gets mount some kind of defense of this lane. Unfortunately for him, he arrives a little bit too late. Still, the idea is there, right? That's one of the things we were speaking about earlier, making sure that you rotate to help your team out.
Bottom, they actually might get this kill on the Timbersaw. Obviously, such a hard kill.
Yeah.
But at the very least, putting a little bit of pressure on him. And they charge up their Bloodseeker. But top lane, likely going to lose this tier 1 tower as well.
Yeah, I think they need to accept that the tier 1 top is just going to go down. Let it go. Move the Bloodseeker elsewhere into the jungle or something. Have Maniac and actually catch up in that fashion. I mean, they're going to try their best. They almost brought down Timber again, but instead they're going to lose Red Dragon underneath the tier 1. That is so unfortunate down here in the bottom lane. That's one of those things where you almost get a kill and you're prepared to dive underneath the tier 1 to get it, but we've all seen how dangerous it can be when the Timber Sword just turns around upon you last minute. Using the Timber Chain and the Whirling Death.
Oh, well, can they turn something around here on Yusuf? They actually brought in the Bloodseeker as well. So in level 2, so very important kill that he actually gets. It needs the experience. Don't quite have enough. If that's a lie, enough hits from the damage, enough damage from the hit, excuse me, from the Crystal Maiden. We'll pick up the first one. But the rotations have come in, and there's the tag team coming out onto the CM. We'll be caught out with the Ice Shards as well, and Frodo will finish off the job with the Timber Chain.
Nice. So they rotate back on the side of Grey. That's one of the things you have to do, right? Whenever you see that there's some danger or potential kill you can pick up, you rotate back into that lane, can make things happen. Unfortunately for them, on the side of Glenwood, they were just shy of the damage necessary to make sure that that kill actually ends up happening. They might get dove upon again. They know where Yusuf is, though. They saw him underneath an observer ward.
Oh, can they make this out? They have stacked the stuns a little bit here. Unable to find the kill. In comes Frodo. Some damage comes to Maniac. He's certainly not strong enough to fight them just yet. In comes the Timber Chain, but it was, in fact, missed. And the Ice Shot's beautiful into the Snowball. They got the blood right down to the field as well. This will buy them a little bit of time. They're taking a lot of damage on separate units, but no one in particular being targeted down. This Timbersaw is a really hard kill. And he goes through the Timber Chains, finds another. Red Dragon going back out. Gets a little bit of support from the other guy who has laid down something, but Red Dragon should be finished off here and is. Now it's going to be the CM's turn. Nowhere to go. Once again, the other guy always likes to stand his ground when he goes down, but will in fact go down anyways.
They lose everybody here. And one of the issues is that if you're going to be playing up against heroes like Timbersaw, you can't focus as hero just yet. Rather focus on the Tusk or the Earth Spirit. Leave the Timbersaw for last. Try to isolate him as much as you can in the meantime. And the idea of what they were trying to do was fine. Just that, gotta kind of target everybody. Whenever you're targeting multiple targets, you don't really get anything out of it. Dota's one of the few games where when it comes to kills, put all your eggs in one basket. Get that kill, then move on to the next one. So they made an attempt there. They don't really make it happen. And they lose the tier 1 as a result.
Bottom lane once more. They're going to re-engage into Red Dragon. They make short work of him again. Fortunately, not a safe place to farm at the moment. They have to try and create some kind of space for him. I think the best thing they can do right now is make sure that this area is well warded and just be a little bit patient. They are definitely very far behind. 1 to 17, 8 minutes. Very challenging to play from this position. The only real options available to them right now is to avoid conflict. Try to find some space in their jungle, dodge them, and hope they don't go for too many objectives too quickly.
Yeah, you just want to make sure that you stay safe. Stay in a situation where you can slow the game down a bit. You don't want to be bleeding away kills at this point, but you can still make it happen for yourself. I really like, I didn't mention it earlier, but over here, they had this really nice observer ward out for Glenwood, making sure that they were able to scout out the movements, especially from Yusuf down at bottom before he went onto the Sven. Without that ward, I think that Sven probably dies a few more times at bottom than he has. But because of it, they still are being pushed towards their tier 2 tower, but the Sven isn't in a worse position than he could otherwise be.
Oh, once again, very far forward, gets caught out and immediately deleted by that Laguna Blade. The other guy trying to get some damage out. They will manage to slow things down here. Frostbite goes into the back line, onto the Lina, gets out a Light Strike array and should be able to finish this job. Once more comes the Timbersaw, finishing off some very squishy heroes. And even the Dragon Slave, the amount of HP that took off, just because the level discrepancy was insane.
God! Yeah, there's a 5-level discrepancy between these two heroes right now, so the amount of magic damage that comes out is just absurd. And Red Dragon might die as well.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble. He gets kicked up in the air as well thanks to the Walrus. And I don't see why you stop here, actually.
You just keep going. You've got the Timbersaw here.
You can just keep... Yeah, exactly. He'll regen. They are taking quite a bit of damage onto Yusuf. In comes the Blood Right, but they should be able to pick up the line and do so. They did get the cross kill on Alina. I think that's actually really good for them. The hammer was dropped. I think it was wide, though. No real damage coming out from that Odie, but at the very least, they do defend their high ground, and they do pretty well of it. The biggest concern, without a doubt, though, is that this core on the Bloodseeker, you really desperately needs to find some levels, and they need to generate some kind of space for him. Once again, they need to put some distance. Oh, excuse me, hold on.
They're going to get this done?
Yeah, they're going to get caught up by the snowball, though, and they're all trapped inside the ice shards. But this probably is going to backfire. They bring down the first one. Frodo, very, very low, but he realizes he can turn and get the first kill. In comes Drostar in the back line, so they'll find another kill, surely.
Nice.
Rabbit being very tentative, but managing to find that kill and stay alive as well. So that is a fantastic turnaround. I'm sure the gold swing is very significant. So actually over 1,000 gold for those 2 kills. And
bigger than the 1,000 gold swing is the massive experience swing coming back in the direction of Glenwood. They've put themselves in a situation now where OD was trailing 2 levels behind the Lina, now only a little bit of experience behind. The Tome of Knowledge as well just got purchased up by the BS. That'll nab him level 6. Level 6 available now for the CM. And they changed up something very important, right? They made sure that while they were in that fight, they were all focusing on the same target. Sure, you stun multiple targets, but when it comes to dishing out damage, choose one, do the damage to that one, then you can move on. And they sort of took advantage of the over-aggression being displayed at that point by Grey. They went a bit too far forward with that push. The push could have helped, but they wanted to take the fight, not just take the tier 3. And they end up losing lives because of it.
They're going to re-engage onto the OD, and there's so much damage coming from the Sport Tuck. Should be able to finish off the job with Laguna Blade and do.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage. Lucas van Rooyen definitely wanted some revenge there. He was like, you guys suck. That death was not really enjoyable for me.
Once again, look where they're playing this game with Dota as well. So aggressive. Grey are not taking prisoners here. Very aggressive. And it's 11 minutes in, and they're actually going to have taken all the outer towers, which is actually crazy. And straight into the high ground they go again. They're really pushing the advantage, giving no chance. In on the backline, the Ursa powers, comes in and powers through the Sven.
Yeah, they're just so far ahead right now. This Timbersaw, look at him, level 7. Might not seem like a lot, but with that Chakram as well, Bloodseeker just gets eviscerated.
So right now, this is what I'm trying to hold you around. The one good news for them is that these towers will do a lot of work this early. I mean, we're talking about level 7 heroes back here. Back comes in Red Dragon, but he is being controlled beautifully and will just survive. manages to walk out of it. And can they bring down this Timbersaw? Obviously, Killer Rabbit is one of the heroes that can do a lot of damage to him. Not able to finish the job, though. They should lose the Tusk, unfortunately, just to towers. And Maniac, he loves this because he's moving so fast through all this, trying to run down the Timbersaw. Doesn't have the Rupture available to him, trying to finish the job. But it is a very hard kill. And Sporter's coming in from the Lina. Should be able to connect the Light Strike Array, and does. They'll turn this one around and finish him off. Laguna Blade comes out, finish the job. They try to bring in Killer Wabbit to try and help out, but unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the speed. I'd love to see this man pick up some boots, though. Once again, in comes Red Dragon. They buy a little bit of time. They're going to drop down the Sanity's Eclipse on top of that Astral target, and they will finish off the Lina again one more time. Backlines, Eurofrodo still survives, still healthy, and Grey having a bit of fun here, but it looks like they should not count these guys out just yet. I would say at least take them a little bit seriously in this environment, because fighting that deep in is going to punish them. CM will be brought down one more time. The backlines still desperately trying to get through the armor of this Timbersaw, but it likely cost the life of Red Dragon again, who will be brought down, swarmed, and sent back to the fountain the hardest way possible.
Killer Wabbit in that fight, as soon as he saw the Timbersaw turning back, Red Dragon was like, come on, man, he's all so low on HP, we could maybe get the kill on him. Killer Wabbit does the wise thing, immediately gets out of dodge. And then look, the defense was actually legit and decent from Glenwood. They just got a bit too impatient and greedy chasing outside of the base. They managed to find 3 kills inside, brought down the Ursa, the Earth Spirit, as well as the Tusk, and it seemed like it was going to be good enough. Unfortunately, you know, the things are looking a bit too tantalizing when you have a Timbersaw on 100 HP. But unfortunately, when you have a Timbersaw on 100 HP, that's the last person you want to be going on in any fight.
There's a big difference as well between 100 HP and what your effective HP is, because that's not the two same things with the Timbersaw. Anyways, they do re-engage, and look at the damage Power is able to put out, really breaking through the lines here as Killer Rabbit's forced to limp off. No boots, going to be brought down, limping away, and sent back to the fountain one more time. On the sidelines, they also finish off the CM, and Maniac trying to find any way in. They did manage to get the Tusk, but unfortunately it is 4 for 1. And one more time, Grey looking really confident in these early stages of this matchup. And unfortunately for Glenwood, I think the early stages may be all the stages, because right now I don't see how they defend for too much longer. They are taking so much damage on these towers. Yeah,
these towers are starting to fall lower and lower. The tier 3 in the mid lane are about to drop. The one thing that they're sort of doing right is, in some sense, if you like early enough in the game, oh wait, hold on, thought they might actually lose Earthspirit. He's dead.
Oh, no, he's not, because a beautiful cover stun came in from Lucas. They actually possibly turn that even more, but in comes the Bloodseeker. Gets tossed in the air thanks to that Eels. And once getting caught up by the Light Strike, a beautiful one catches out 2. Astral once more, banishing up 1 target. They want to set up around this. They don't have the, in fact, they did have the Light Strike, but Powers comes in the back line. They have managed to control him for the time being, but he has the ulti. They are just burning through the HP now of Glenwood. In comes a snowball, but it was onto a corpse, unfortunately, as Killer Wabbit now. Is that defensive Eels? No, he doesn't have his Eels up here. So in trouble, will actually be controlled one more time and killed. One more fix is required. And the other guy has to retreat back to the base. Buyback comes back, and...
But they lost the Timbersaw. Timbersaw chased a bit too deep, got brought down by tier 4s.
Well, looks like they're trying to finish the job on Drossar. Do you get some support from the other guy? They should be able to finish with the Lina. No, nice defensive Yules will buy himself a bit of time, but they should finish the job. Will be the CM. It's enough, and they do manage to do so. Tusk, once again, very, very low. They're picking up. Limited options working good, because the tower is enough right now, and it should be brought down, and is. So once more, Grey trying to beat the clock, I think, finish the game off as quickly as they possibly can, but...
They need to start being careful, though, because every time you die like this, it doesn't seem like this kind of a big deal. But it starts to stack up time over time. And Powers is like, all right, guys, we need to get the tower down as soon as humanly possible. Let's get the tier 3 tower down first before we decide to fight by the tier 4 tower.
What I'd also really like to see as well from Glenwood is that Killer Rabbit has a fantastic spell to deal with Ursa Astral. When he enrages, he definitely is at a significant advantage in those fights. He's soaked up so much damage. Take a look at that spell for those of you unfamiliar with it. So your ultimate will reduce your damage by 80%. So think about he was probably on about a half HP, if not less, when they went to him. But he's taking 80% less damage. So that is effectively, instead of 40% on a hero, that's almost an entire team's worth of damage. But anyways, they go straight back in. Once again, Powers in front line will finish off Dross. So they drop down Sandy's Eclipse. They're doing a lot of damage this time, but a lot of damage once again dedicated to Powers. Powers silenced up. Can they finish the job? Doesn't look like it. He'll turn back into it as the CM ulti does fly. Eurofrodo stuck in there. The other guy did damage with that one, but it wasn't enough to bring down the Timbersaw. And the back lines, once again, Killer Rabbit trying to do what he can, but he's out of mana, so you'll have to back off. And although low, they do survive another engagement here and can now turn their attention to that ranged racks.
They desperately need boots so badly on OD. That's one of the big things as well. There is no item that you could possibly be buying in Dota that generally is better than boots overall. They might actually get forced away from the tower. Yeah, they can't keep going. They can't take the racks. They need to leave the base now.
Well, they're sticking around for the time being. Maniac doesn't have Rupture Veil, does have the Blood Right though, so it could potentially set up an opportunity here. You really want to try find some kind of initial engagement, so on either the Stormhammer or the Astral, anything just to set up that Blood Right, then you have a fight on your hands.
LSA is coming.
Does connect, but they did get off a Stormhammer on the backlines, and this time they do have that setup, so we'll split the fight up at the very least. But then Laguna Blade comes down and finishes off the OD. Yusuf tries to back off, but they're going to be able to bring down the Bloodseeker for the first time. Now Red Dragon in the front lines, also brought down by the Dragon Slave, and they're trying to pick away at the HP on Drosso. He might just survive this one, tries to get up, but Timbersaw still wants this. Went the other way and helped out by the other guy. Dragon Slave will connect though, and finishes the job. That seems to have done so much work.
Yet
Lucas
another ultra
very
kill.
low, but not too keen to head back yet. Still wants to fight, bottling up, as he wants to go up against his kind of his opposite number in a way. They're sisters, right?
Yeah, they're just
Lena
sisters,
and Lore, so there's that.
I think ideally wanted to be able to get a Rampage in this situation. Unfortunately, it's not going to be available for him. They should pop the Glyph. So what you can use the Glyph of Fortification. You press J, and it makes all your structures immortal for a short time.
Hold on, let's see what they can do here. On the backlines, Powers eating through Rabbit. No response from him just yet. Good guy James. The other guy, what am I saying? The other guy that games, not good guy James. You can use that one for free if you want it one time. But also dying on the backlines, Eurofrodo having his mana drain, but he's got more than enough to deal with Drosstar.
Wow.
Trying to line up the Chakram for its return, but won't do so. In the mid lane, can finish it off, but they still want more. Rupture being cast on Powers, he doesn't care. Not this time. He can stand in this environment. I'm happy to just take a moment. And although Silence, Maniac cannot take this fight at all. Trying to bait him into some kind of movement. Fortunately for him, Life Striker Area was on cooldown, so able to dart in and out. But once again, in goes Powers. He'll make short work of the line with a little bit of help from Eurofrodo. Now Killer Rabbit on the back lines, trying to find a way in. Very, very close to bring down Lucas, but he does stand one more time. In comes Killer Rabbit, throwing everything. Can he get off the hit? No, he cannot. And he's going to be salved up as well, or rather get the own charge coming out from the Tusk.
Yeah. Lina is just so low, but unfortunately, they just don't have enough burst at this point.
Yeah, 57 to 16. So the very least going to say they're certainly on the scoreboard. It's been a very action-packed game.
Yeah.
But this should be coming to an end soon. I think just the pressure of the creep waves coming now is going to be too much for the Glenwood side to handle.
Yeah, there's just too much happening inside the base, and they don't really have the best wave clear themselves. They've got this Sven who's able to deal with waves in some capacity, but you do need farm on that hero to make that happen. And unfortunately, farm is not incoming for them, and this seems like it might be the last hurrah that they have. I think one thing that they do need to work on a lot is their positioning. Very often they are clumped up together, which is causing the side of Grey to land 3-4-man LSAs, 3-4-man rolling boulders, multiple heroes getting caught inside chakrams at the same time. So this game is looking like it's really on the cusp of ending. Look how far Lucas van Rooyen is, 21-3-10.
I'll bring up the scoreboard now for those who are interested. See there
kind of
kills
insane
stacked up on this side.
Yeah. And they're getting some bounties now on the way out. The one thing that they're doing, fight breaking out top. Red Dragon, is he dead? Yeah, he's dead.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's dead.
Powers will get an Astral to the face, but he doesn't mind, shrugs it off once more.
Yeah, they don't have the follow-up here.
Looks like they might be able to bring down Lucas, though, and should be able to. This time, they do find the kill on Alina, so they'll get something for their troubles. It's Frodo also, once again, he's just stacking up armor as well. Reactive armor stacks 24, so he is regenerating a lot. They bring down the tier 3 towers to be in the top lane. Once again, they re-engage onto Killer Rabbit. No way out of this. Would really have preferred... Oh, is that an yeah, that is an Axe. And they've kicked him onto the other side of the map, and they will finish off the job as he's set up right next to that tree. They do find the kill in Timbersaw. That's a pretty big one. Sorry, the Tusk, actually. Timbersaw is still raining havoc. Maniac will join his friends as well, and the GG is now called.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I think that's what they were trying to force that out. They were at a point in the game where it's like, okay, guys, it's clear that we've won. It's clear that we know what to make happen next. So we're just going to try and force you guys to GG out, play in such a way that, there's a very demoralizing way of playing Dota. But to their credit, yet again, like Grey Gaming was ahead from almost the minute 0 in this game, and they played like they were ahead. But we didn't actually see Glenwood giving up. We didn't see them just immediately GGing out of the game. They stuck into it, and they kept playing it. And there were a couple of fights which actually looked kind of good for them, because after that first dive on the high ground from Tier 3 at bottom lane, I kind of had a feeling that Glenwood might have been able to sort of calm down and use the advantage that they gained from the first 3 kills. Because Grey Gaming definitely made a mistake there in terms of that push. However, Glenwood sort of got baited into a fight almost immediately afterwards. A low health Timbersaw. There's a Bloodseeker that can see the low health Timbersaw. I think that probably had an impact on it as well. And it's like, well, guys, crap. We've got to take this fight. We've got to make something happen. They tried that, and it just didn't work out. So, I don't know. If they were a bit more patient with some of their engagements here, this might have been a different situation. But at the end of the day, Grey Gaming take away this W. And credit to them as well, because they made sure at the very end of it, Powers went back home, brought the Desolator, because he was recognizing that, guys, we can't push. All we can do is keep Timbersaw tanking up the Tier 3. Let's get something that will actually help us take structures. Brings out this Deso. At that point, it's like, all right, now the game really, really is going to end, more so than it was already. So Grey Gaming definitely earning their first 5 stripes here. And then Glenwood's still getting better, actually. Signs of life.
I do think that the improvement is very clear. I mean, hey, have you heard me say this line before this weekend? It really is the case that every single game these guys play, they will learn so much from every single one of these games. And although I think that you look at these kind of score lines and the way that the games were playing out, you would be forgiven for thinking that it was just as bad or just as convincing, however you want to look at it, as the previous engagement they had early on in the day. But the reality is that there was actually, I think mechanically they looked a little bit better, they looked more comfortable, maybe getting a little more used to the environment.
Yeah.
And additionally, I think the item selection was still had its issues, but far, far better. I mean, one of the big things for me as well is that they weren't trying to get items on heroes that they were never going to get. You know, you can look at the CM as a practical example. Spoke about trying to go for the mechanism. This time around, got 2 braces and a tranquil boot. I find that totally acceptable. Braces, maybe not the best item on a CM per se, but I also don't think it's the worst. That's the reality of it.
I'm okay with the braces. I don't like the Oblivion staff.
I'm not sure where they were going with that. Actually.
Probably into an Orchid, but CM is the wrong hero to be buying Orchid on. Because the idea with Orchid, I can sort of understand the rationale, right? It's an int hero. When you get this Orchid, it increases everything that she already does. Soulburn can be pretty nice. It's just you're realistically not going to find that item in anything resembling a reasonable time frame, so there's no point getting it. And I would have really liked this Glimmer Cape, though, that she was going for at the end. That would have been great. I didn't mind the Vanguard on Bloodseeker, considering his thought. The Rod of Atos was great on Killer Wabbit. It just, you have to buy boots. Every single game, before you buy any other item, buy boots. Buy boots before you buy health items and boots. That's it. Every single game, do that all the time. But besides that, like you mentioned, the atomization was better. They sort of slipped up on the warding as the game went on. However, towards the end of the game, at the beginning of the game, they had some really decent wards planted out in the lane. They were trying to protect them there. It's just, the game went south and awry, and maybe they were under a bit too much pressure to keep planting vision out. But you have to keep doing that. They weren't doing it earlier. They did some of it now. Progression. That's all that really matters in Dota 2.
Better than the last time. Anyways, we're going to take a quick break in just a moment. So, any final thoughts before we go into the next matchup?
I think before we go into Game 2, the big thing and the important thing that matters for them, firstly, confidence, right? They need to breathe, calm down, relax. You lost the game. It might have been a rough loss, but, you counted some of the mistakes that were made and you dealt with them. But going into the next game, I think it's stay on the path you were with the draft, maybe change 1 or 2 things, a couple of item decisions that might need to be different, move around the map more, but mostly just focus on the fundamentals. Hit creeps, think about who in the lane needs to be getting the last hits, think about who you're going to be harassing, think about who you're going to kill together. That's going to be the thing. But they started doing that as well as the game wore on, where they were focusing their targets more pointedly, with more accuracy. So just keep playing Dota, keep getting better.
Cool. On that note, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. We'll have Game 2 up in just a moment.
Okay, cool guys, here at Comic-Con 2019. Huge upgrade from last year. here obviously for the VS Gaming tournaments that are going on. VS Gaming's been a great platform for gamers, new and old alike, to come and show their medals, show what they got. It's been such a great platform for us to play throughout the year, come together, show the different guys what we got and how we perform, and then the setup here this year is a massive upgrade.
Well, I think comics drive imagination. So in driving imagination, it allows parents to engage closer with their kids. So I definitely think it's a conversation to encourage, and it's definitely an expansion into exploring life with your kids and having fun and being creative.
Hey guys, I'm Goku. This is Raphael. My name's Graham. This is Leo. I think it's super important that dads encourage their kids to enjoy a day like this. I think it's super important. A lot of my heroes are comic book heroes, and they don't really exist in real life, and this is my one day that I get to celebrate them along with my kids, and they celebrate it with me. So it's a symbiotic relationship, and it's super cool. And you know what, it's such a safe space to do it in, and people enjoy it. And one of my bucket list places to go is Comic-Con New York. So one day hopefully I'll get to go there, but I'm so glad it came here to SA. Thank you, SA. It's the best day of the year. Well, 4 days of the year. I've got a weekend pass, so it feels like one long ass day.
It is a culmination of a year-long league. These are the best of the best our country has to give.
Nice big stun coming in from Zazawi, but that is it. Only one, and that is it. I don't think there's more. And your grand champions.
Look at the glee, look at the joy. He's finally broken the curse. The shouts of true victory.
It's mine.
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 It is a culmination of a year-long league. These are the best of the best our country has to give.
Nice big stun coming in from Zazawi, but that is it. Only one, and that is it. I don't think there's more. And your grand champions.
Look at the glee, look at the joy. He's finally broken the curse. The shouts of true victory.
It's mine.
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 All right, so will be the last game of the day here. Once again, Grey Gaming first 15 versus Glenwood High School. And I think that we've seen an improvement game after game from Glenwood. Hopefully they manage to do so yet again. But Grey, firm favorites in this one. I'm sure you agree with me, this is likely going to be their matchup again. But hopefully we can see Glenwood put up some bigger numbers, maybe last a little longer. I think that's really the main goal they should have right now.
Yeah. Like, they need to be making sure that each game that they play is in some capacity. Whether or not you get closer to victory is irrelevant. Whether or not you play a better game of Dota is all that really matters. Sometimes the better game of Dota you play is the one where you get stomped harder, but it doesn't matter. You know you played a better game. And they've definitely been playing better games. And Grey Gaming probably, if I'm honest, they probably feel to themselves they could have won that game in easier fashion. But it didn't happen because Glenwood started doing some things right, made some necessary adjustments, started playing a lot better on the high ground, playing with some more team cohesion. And I think that's been the name of the game for like the entirety of the day, right? We've seen that the teams that have better team cohesion are the teams that end up doing much better. That is a great band. That's another hero we're actually speaking about that I should have mentioned, Earthshaker. Earthshaker is another X-Factor hero. It just changes everything, changes the game. Get rid of it. Get rid of things that change the game. And Glenwood, I like that the fact that they've been sticking to doing a thing where they always ban heroes that they feel were the reason they lost. Whether or not that's the case is another story, but it's always good to make sure that you take out of the pool that which you're certain you can't deal with and deal with new surprises. That's also a new way to learn, right? It sucks losing to the same thing game after game after game. Change it up and make sure that you're at least playing a different game of Dota, learning more things about the game as well.
I really like that analogy, actually. Why not? Just keep learning new things, make it a learning experience regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
And of course, these events, these are going to be the first of many, I'm sure. So you can lose this and keep your head held high because you were a part of this history and you can still be better for the next one. I think that there is certainly an opportunity here for Glenwood to take something out of this next matchup, even if it is likely that Grey are too advanced for them to actually take the W. They can win in other ways regardless.
Yeah. And they still have an entire night, right, to study the tape, look through the replays, try to figure out ways to actually take it to Grey. Because, you know, all we're doing is seeding today. Nobody's going home. Nobody's being knocked out. Everybody will still have an opportunity to come back and show us in what fashion they've improved upon, which is always exciting to watch.
So, of course, for tomorrow, excuse me, I hear the CSGO personalities getting very rowdy up in here, so obviously having some fun in their own game. But I guess also worth mentioning for those of you who are involved in this, who are checking this out for the first time, we have multiple games going on. It's not just Dota 2. There's also League of Legends as well as Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or CSGO. So a lot to be seen here. If you're a fan of gaming in general, if you're a high school student, perhaps you've stumbled across it, come join us, come see what it's about. even if your school's not involved, perhaps you'll be the person who can convince your principal to make this a part of your daily routine.
Yeah.
Because I do think that this is something truly special and something that we all eventually are going to have to accept is here to stay. Esports is going to be a ever-growing, I want to say sport, but it's not a sport, but ever-growing thing, and we're going to keep seeing it going from strength to strength.
Yeah.
So come around, check it out, get involved. Even if you don't like Dota, maybe you like CSGO.
Man, who doesn't like Dota? Me. Love Dota. Not I really like seeing as well in this situation. Glenwood, they go stick to their comfort zone, sticking to the line, the Crystal Maiden. Great gaming. I think this is the third or fourth unique thing we've seen from them today. So they're also, as much as we're saying that Glenwood is a team that is learning and developing, we have to also give props to Great Gaming for trying new things out, making sure that, as you were speaking about earlier, you want to expand the zone of your comfort as large as humanly possible. And they've been doing that. Now they have a push strat already that's coming out at us. Glenwood, I don't think I've had to deal with the push E strats yet. So this is going to be their first experience having to go up against that kind of strategy. And when you're already having some difficulties dealing with fast-paced Dota, now you're going to get the fastest pace. And we're going to have to see them develop as well. Like, you don't get an opportunity all the time to know in advance what's coming at you. You have to deal with it on the fly, adjust on the fly. And in this instance, I think Glenwood, they've stuck to their bans more or less. They only changed up Lina and Ursa, obviously, from game one, as opposed to, who did they ban? They banned Disruptor third in the first game, Axe first, and Naga. Yeah, Naga Siren was the other ban. So now they're just taking out the known quantities rather than just taking out unknown things.
What's also worth noting, they haven't really banned out any of the heroes that were picked up by Glenwood in the previous matchup. So they're pretty, I know a push strat when I see one.
Yeah, this is a push strat. Already I knew, and that's what Nature's left track. It's like, yeah.
I was with you, but that's truly aggressive.
Yeah.
The 3 heroes that have been selected are very harsh pushes. Normally when you see push strats come out, they're hidden a little bit better. Something like a Nature's Prophet and Leshrak can swing by without people picking up on it. But when the Lycan comes up as well, you know that this is full-on push.
Yeah.
Now, Glenwood are going to have to use some kind of creep clearance to make sure that they don't get pushed out very quickly into this game.
Yeah.
Fortunately for them, the type of draft they're going for so far is mostly physical with the Leshrak, who relies on and Nevermind.
Yeah, now there's a Pugna as well. This is all push, 100% push. They might actually go in for all 5 heroes being pushy type heroes. So we might see a DK coming last. But with this Pugna being available now as well, one of the huge things about this Pugna hero is that's going to make Sven's life extremely difficult. Sven shows up, uses God Strength, you want to be taking the fight, you just get decrypt, and oh, okay, this one hero's one spell can disable an entire core hero. Great, doesn't do anything. So going to be the kind of game where Glenwood need to get BKBs for themselves in some capacity. But at the same time, though, I do think Lion is one of the better heroes versus heroes like Pugna. You just mana drain him. Like a mana drain Pugna does almost nothing. Like, you don't take as much damage from the Nether Ward being dropped down. And Lion can mana drain both Pugna and Leshrak. So a lot of their push is bound up within those 2 heroes. So if you can deal with that in some capacity, you'll be doing fine, I guess. But then, hey, you're dealing with Lycan as well, and Lycan just eats Lion for food.
So this is a really good example as well about mixing the type of damage you have. Now, obviously, they're truly focusing on dealing damage to structures with this draft. But the reality is as well that they're mixing it up because, as I mentioned previously, outside the Leshrak, which has one spell that deals damage to towers, they were physically based on their damage.
Yeah.
Then they pick up the Pugna, which gives them another source of magical damage to these towers. The final thing I'd like to see complete this recipe, if they really want to go all in, is something that is immune to damage, like a Shadow Shaman or even a Venomancer that just gives them something like that. Or, alternatively, the other option entirely, which is about sustain, and pick themselves up something like the Juggernaut, which has just been banned out. So a very good ban there, where they have whether they have identified this or not, it is a very good ban. I think there's still other options, of course, that can provide you with some sustain. Maybe even something like a Dazzle, which would work really well in this environment, where you can just bomb people with the huge numbers of spawns so you can get out of the Lycan and the Nature's Prophet.
Yo, Dazzle mid would actually own it right now. That would be incredible. If Great Gaming brought that out, yeah, it would be a very difficult game. And because it's physical damage from the Dazzle, it makes it hard for Huskar to play Dota. Because Huskar needs the magical damage resistance in order to be able to take fights. When you're dealing with physical damage, it's very difficult. This game, though, on the bright side, you are playing again against Leshrak and Pugna. So as Huskar, you're not as afraid of the damage they give to you. And it's also only one stun. with the Leshrac split earth, there's not that many ways to control this hero up, but you are playing against the Lycan. And Lycan shapeshifts, runs at you. Yeah, it's not the easiest thing to play against as a Husker. This is interesting. Last pick, Terrorblade.
That is unfortunately okay.
Oh.
I was actually thinking about it earlier because we did see the Broodmother come out of, I believe it was...
It wasn't Grey Gaming, it wasn't Lichrond.
Was it Lichron?
It might have been.
I thought it was Lichron.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, Ubik. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ubik
played
did play the Broodmother. Yeah.
So Brood to me may be a little bit overkill when it comes to it. I would have preferred something that provided some sort of sustain, but the reality is that there actually isn't a good answer to the summons that they have on the map at the moment. So although they, hypothetically, something like the Sven can literally cleave through everything, the opportunity for him to do it at the pace that they're willing to do it is very unlikely he's going to find himself in a position to do it. So they're pretty much relying at this point on the Crystal Nova coming out of the CM and the freezing field with her ulti to deal with all of this. It's just simply not enough. And the reality is that because they can now almost throw their bodies at you, regardless of the outcome of the actual fights, it's a very challenging lineup for the Glenwood High School team to compete against. And the Terrorblade, unfortunately, is a very late game hero that requires quite a bit of babysitting.
Yeah.
Sure, he's strong as in the moments that he's in his metamorphosis, but unfortunately he's going to have limited time we can actually be there.
Yeah.
And accordingly, you're likely going to find this, if it goes the way of Grey, they're going to finish this game very quickly.
Yeah, this is this kind of lineup that effectively can roll over you in 12, 13, 15 minutes, it's whatever. Can get kind of crazy if that's the direction that this game ends up going. At the same time, like you mentioned, because of this Terrorblade, they have basically the late game. If the game goes to that stage, they'll definitely have the natural advantage thanks to the heroes they picked up. But the question is whether or not they'll be able to actually get there is something else entirely. Unfortunately, they don't really have any D-push. We might have to see this Husker perhaps buying like a Maelstrom or something. They're going to have to definitely do something that they might not necessarily want to do, because just wave clear from the Sven is definitely not going to be enough to actually deal. Let's look at this. There's so many things that are coming at you. Things from Lycan, things from Brood, things from Nature's Prophet, explosions everywhere from the Leshrac, and this Pugna as well, just making life difficult for you with the Decrypt.
Now, obviously, you may recall they banned out the Earthshaker very early on, so they addressed this problem before the game even started. Maybe almost a telling sign that they were going to do something like this. But there are other heroes that do deal with the amount of push that they have, since of the nature of it is all summons that are fairly low HP and take a lot, very easily brought down by mage damage. But here in the top lane, looks like Leonard wants to try finish off this line. Did drop the web, but they haven't been able to finish the job you said. Forced out the Metamorphosis, but Drossar will survive. And at the moment, they're A-OK. TP comes in towards the mid lane from the Broodmother.
Oh, that's so bad. Metamorphosis being forced out this early on is probably the worst thing that could have possibly happened. Honestly, losing Lion would have been better than that. Now with Meta not going to be available, it does mean that Killer Wabbit is most likely going to only be able to claim himself one range creep if he gets to it. One of the more important things, whenever you're playing this Terrorblade hero, if you're forced to using Metamorphosis, the thing you want to be doing almost immediately is start attacking the range creep. Get it before your opponent is able to deny you away from it. But now, that option not really going to be present for him. Metamorphosis is already ended. And this lane is pretty much going to belong to the Grey. Between the Pugna and the Nature's Prophet, it's very hard for the Terrorblade to approach this lane in order to get CS. I mean, even this Lion's very slow as a hero. So as soon as you get a bit closer to the lane, you get blasted down by this Pugna's Nether Blast. So top is going to be really, really rough. On all of that over a bounty rune, feels bad.
Well, let's see how they manage to recover in this lane. Red Dragon once again taking up that Sven. Will re-engage here onto Powers, but a lot of damage coming. The Split Earth will connect, and this might be your first blood right here. Is it enough? Yes, it is. Powers finishes off the job, picking up an important character there in the Sven. And of course, you don't want to find yourself in a situation against push drafts where you're actually behind on kills. That is absolute worst case scenario. Generally speaking, what happens is they throw their bodies at your structures, you find many kills, but you run out of things to defend before the game ends.
Yeah.
In this kind of situation, if you fall behind in the laning phase as well, you are in an almost unwinnable situation.
Yeah, it's very, very dangerous to be in that place. And more often than not, the most important thing is to make sure that you just maintain some state of equilibrium in the early laning phase. Oh, Red Dragon. I saw Red Dragon. He TP'd back to base from about where the racks are rather than from the fountain. And as a result, he shows up to lane with a little bit less mana than normal. Ideally, when you're TPing out from base, TP from inside the fountains, because then you regen all the... It's basically a free TP
bottom
then.
lane there, in fact, have brought in use as well. So Nature's Prophet showing his summons now. A lot of damage coming out to Red Dragon. Doesn't have the Sprout, so can't set up for the Split Earth.
Yeah, I think this is more about just making sure that Red Dragon is zoned away from this part of the lane. Because they probably have some confidence that at top, you know, Lucas van Rooyen's going to be able to find his farm anyway. And there is a meta that got used by Killer Wabbit.
He actually might find himself in trouble here. The Impale comes out from Drostar, which will allow them to back off, but the damage was quite significant, and they were unable to commit to that kill. He was alone up here as the Nature's Prophet did TP down. Looks at the moment he's going to spend some time in the jungle instead of in the more common, I'd say, support role in that off lane. But obviously they're quite keen on getting as much farm as possible and using up the jungle as well to provide an extra level. Top lane, bottom lane, Red Dragon does re-engage onto the Leshrac, but Powsy happy to show his face and make sure that they back off.
Also, what they're doing this move in this fashion on the side of the Grey, with Nature's Prophet being in the jungle, it does mean that Pugna gets solo experience at top, so you get even more levels to try and make your push happen as soon as possible. Killer Wabbit almost died, 9 HP in the top lane, but does manage to stay alive at the very end of this one.
Unfortunately for him, though, out of regeneration, so he's going to have to courier something in, or potentially just take the walk. But I feel like it's kind of a tough one. I think in this case it's fine to just walk back. You're so low anyways, but perhaps go and kill yourself rather. But spend the money you have, die to a neutral, Roshan, anything, get back a little bit faster. I think in this case, that walk is certainly longer than the 25 seconds that it takes to respawn.
Yeah, it's going to take longer to get back, because he doesn't have boots either or a windlace, but Terrorblade is reasonably speedy. Still, it's not a great place to be leaving the Pugna also completely alone in the lane, who's now just picked up the Soul Ring, should be able to do what he wants for the most part. We haven't talked about this mid lane, where this is honestly one of the hardest matchups in all of Dota, if I'm honest. Huskar versus Brood is basically impossible. Speaking of, Huskar's about to die. Feels bad.
It is a very tough line. Does he have a web? Because that's what he actually requires. Yes, he does. In fact, he'll just commit the spawn spiderlings instead and finish the job off there. So all the lanes at the moment looking very favorable for Grey, and you can see that this is a problem that the Husker could run into is theoretically Leonard at this point can in fact sit on this side of the creep wave, just live inside this area, and what will happen is his own creeps will bounce off the tower and never provide the experience to the Huskar whilst he's able to bully him out the lane. And with the spiderlings, he can generate a large enough army to just do exactly what he's doing at the moment. Potentially, does he want it? Looks like he's thinking about it, so he's going to start building up this spider wave army, and Husker will never get experience again. So I'm very pleased that he's making that decision this early on. I too enjoy playing Brood.
You Brood players, you sound a little bit too excited for this, and I can't believe you give me flack for playing Razor, man.
Do I give you flack for playing Razor?
Actually, to be fair, you don't.
Razor's fine. I have no issues with Razor. If you had said techies, I may have left some references
the dark one. I keep forgetting that we're the men of culture. You know, the ones that understand that it's techies, not Razor and Viper, that are the problem with Dota 2. Mid lane, this is going to start becoming an issue because Vlad is en route for Leonard. And we're going to have...
Bottom lane. Actually, this could be a beautiful double split earth coming out here. Eurofrodo makes no mistake, catches out both the heroes, and this should end with 2 kills going the way of Powers. And once more, a fantastic experience here for the bottom laners, as Powers and Eurofrodo have done a fantastic job here. Also means that they're going to get a very early... I believe they're going into the Necro, actually. So going there as quickly as possible. Also have the headrest up. Now, we spoke about headrest early on, but for what they're trying to do, it's a different scenario entirely. This is going to provide some passive regen, build up into stronger items later on, like the Vladimir's potentially, and of course, once alongside those Necronomicons, they're going to do a lot of damage and plow through towers.
They're trying to kill this Pugna at top, as he's also trying to chase onto the Lion, but Lion jukes into the trees, stays alive, does force out yet another usage of the Metamorph, and that is definitely less than ideal for that to be happening. Simultaneously, is this a kill?
They actually should be able to finish off the Terrorblade and do. Hex comes in from Drosar, but unfortunately for him, far too late to save his core, and the push is really starting. And this is actually problematic. I somewhat expected that they would bring all their players into the likes of the mid lane, for example, and just start barreling down. But they're actually providing a lot of pressure onto this top lane at the moment, and potentially they could do some kind of split
mid lane
push. Let's see what happens. It actually commits the ultimate as well from Maniac, but unfortunately, Leonard just far too far ahead at the moment. Will make easy work of him, and once more start moving his way down mid lane. I thought originally that they, as I was saying, I thought they would commit all down one lane, since there's very little wave clear, and just roll through a lane and then go down that. But instead, it looks like what they're doing is they're actually relying on the different pushing mechanisms that they have to push out multiple lanes at the same time, which is an equally interesting position because, of course, when you're relying so heavily on your Crystal Maiden, she can't be in all 3 lanes at once. So I don't actually see any real way to combat this. You're going to lose stuff via death by 1,000 cuts, if you would. But as you can see, they're already taking a lot of the objectives here early on in the game, 7 minutes in.
Yeah, they had a tier 2 tower, 7 minutes at top. Broodmother's pushing at a tier 2 in the mid lane. And because of how the lanes went, like,
mid lane, Maniac actually might be able to win this one. Can he win it fast enough, though? He definitely will get the kill. And I think that does favor him more under the circumstances. However, he did lose out in the experience battle there because he died first.
Yeah, the experience would have been a huge boon to him. Level 6 on the Huskar, level 9 on the Broodmother would have made a huge difference, but it ends up not transpiring.
Bottom lane, they actually have the Siege Wagon as well. So Siege Creep coming in here. They got the Nature's Prof as well as the Pugna. They're going to build up a little bit of an army for themselves with the Treants and start to apply pressure. If they can keep that Siege Wagon alive for a while, even if they don't take the tower, they're going to do so much damage. Lucas is going to be careful there. Did get hit, but he will have the life drain available, so should be able to potentially find a way back in this. Sven has DC top laner. We can keep watching this as Yusuf, beautiful decrep, comes in from the Pugna, saving out his teammate, who definitely would have fallen there from Maniac's Huskar.
Yeah.
The pause now will come out for that Sven who is missing. He is heading back to base, doesn't have TP, so potentially could TP, particularly here into the back lines. If he goes back, excuse me, let's try that again. Why won't you let me draw, Dota?
Oh, it doesn't let you draw off your post.
So, drawing the mini-map it is.
There we go.
Could potentially go onto this particular spot here and backstab them as they try to escape. So I think that's a play I would most like to do, because TPing in from this position, not going to reach the tower on the side. Please attention on minimap, for those wondering what I'm talking about. Not going to arrive on this tower in time and be able to chase him down the lane. That just won't work out. But if he TPs onto this one, you can actually get the short route, backstab them as they're trying to escape, potentially find at least one kill on the likes of the Pugna. Nature's Prophet may TP out from a different position, but it's something dire that they need right now. 9k behind, very significant on this stage of the game.
Yeah, we have the kind of gold lead right now where you would expect naively that the game, you know, would be played around the tier 2 towers. Maybe they're going for Roche, but like you say, they're just trying to end the game right now. Also see at bottom, they are finally making inroads with this Leshrac as well as Power Z, looking to take the tier 1 tower down. I suspect that one of the few ways that they can make this happen, like you said, they need to get the backstab firstly, but they also need to make sure that they have positive vision of where this Broodmother is. Because I think that the Brood is going to be one of the key engines of knowing where they want to play around on the side of the Grey. Unfortunately, it's kind of a lost cause to try and stop the Lycan. Once Lycan has Hammer Dom and basically Necro 1, he's off to the races, going to be doing his own thing. At that point, stopping him seems somewhat impossible. But I think they really need to find a way to involve Killer Rapid in some of these fights. He's been forced to use the Metamorphosis just to walk away or just to put in some last right clicks to maybe help the Lion survive. But still doesn't have boots, still doesn't have like a surefire way to fight with. I think like that's the next item that they need to find on the Terrorblade. Get some power trades going for yourself, get some survivability, some attack speed, and see what you can make happen. Just in terms of farm, like fighting is going to be out of the question for a while, except on the high ground, where they are being forced into an engagement right now. But that's basically the only place on the map where you can successfully fight. Anything else is most likely going to result in failure. Not a place you want to be. Game is so hard right now. It's pretty rough.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what the... I assume it's just a PC reconnect or something. Obviously, these players were brought in their own computers, so not too sure what exactly is happening with there. I like the fact that Snare's using the old tricks. Just go see can you see if he's back online yet?
Yep, he's coming back now.
Hopefully he won't be too much longer before he re-enters the fray, and we'll see if potentially he goes in with the backstab, or if he just tries to support his team. But he is positioned well. It does mean that they're likely to drop this tier 1 tower in the bot lane, but to be fair, I think they've lost this regardless. Even if they do try to TP into this one, they're likely brought down. But the game is back on, so unpause him. Let's take a look at top lane and see what happens here. Droster, interestingly, TP'd straight back onto his tower. Not quite sure. There's no backstab coming from the fence, so both Yusuf and Lucas and Roy will be A-OK.
That happens. You misclicked on that one. It's fine. On the bright side, they didn't end up actually losing the Huskar. Nothing of true value was lost. They lost the tier 1 tower bottom, but that was going to be doomed anyway, no matter what. Powers actually wants to try and find the Terrorblade.
Well, he has scoped him out, but he does have the other guy that games next to him. And unfortunately, this time around, your Wolves probably won't survive this, but they get the support coming in from Frodo. The back lines managed to deal a little bit of damage to that Terrorblade. Doesn't have the Sunder yet, only level 4, so unable to turn that one around. But Leonard comes and he wants to finish off the job, but it's going to be Frodo actually finishes the job off with the Lightning.
And while that's happening, they manage to take down the tier 3 tower in the top lane. They're just playing them up across the map right now. And unfortunately, because they didn't have a defensive ward around the area where the Terrorblade was farming, there was no way for them to keep protection of him. So now he respawns, but they lose the tier 3 tower in exchange.
So once more, a lot of damage. Oh, look at the damage coming out onto the line. Fortunately, able to walk out of the range of that life drain, but they managed to pick up a kill with the Broodmother regardless towards the mid side. By the way, for those who are wondering, this is a terminology called rat Dota. That's actually happening. It's basically playing a game where you're trying to draw people across the side of the map, but with an element of push because they're still standing and fighting. So it's a little bit of an interesting one, but very deep in goes the Broodmother. Does survive for the timing. Can they finish him off? Low Impale will connect, and there will be enough to finish him off. Also sent his Broodlings after the fountain, so manages to get a little bit of extra farm going the way, but it's come at such a huge expense. They've lost their mid-racks already, 10 minutes in. That'll spawn the Mega Creeps, and of course, or Super Creeps rather. Which way around is it?
Super Creeps, yeah. Super Creeps for one lane, Mega for all of them.
Thank you. Managing to pick up an important one. Looks like they
don't
don't
want
even
to
care
leave
for the other one. They're going to go straight after the throne here.
Wow.
And Red Dragon brought down by peripheral damage as these towers are slowly but surely being ticked away on. They're trying to bring them down. They've got to sort out the Netherward. On the front lines, though, they did send their CM, and she unfortunately is not tanky enough to deal with this. In comes the Maniac, and he will manage to bring down the Leshrac, which will buy them some time potentially, but it once more powers with the Lycan using the shapeshift, able to dodge out of all harm's way for the time being, sending the Necronomicons forward to do some damage here. Will drop more and more damage onto these tier 4s, and one is already down. So this game potentially ending
and
in
Brood
under 15 minutes. Brood, did he buyback just respawned?
She just respawned, yeah.
Well, Fortification comes out, will buy their tower a little bit of time. Also the Split Shot will bring down some of these units. In goes Red Dragon with Stormhammer, but unfortunately they just don't have the capacity to catch anything out, deal damage. They're too far behind at the moment. Take a look at the net worth as well. It's very, very significant as well. And looks like they do want a piece of Leonard again. Not able to find the kill that they wanted, as Killer Wabbit caught out in the Sprout from Yusuf, trying to hunt down the Nature's Prophet. Can they do so? Very low, being pegged away at by these Lycan Wolves. Shouldn't cause a problem, but unable to find the kill that they were looking for. They did, once again, off camera, bring down the Broodmother.
Yeah, she took like the full amount of damage from the Huskar, like everything. Red Dragon's gonna die as well, though. That's pretty unfortunate. That's really sad, because every time that there's a death that happens onto the Sven, they're going to need the Sven really, 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 really importantly just to be able to help them with D-pushes. And now they buy back on the Huskar. They recognize that if they don't buy back here en masse, the game could very well end right here, right now. So they're doing the right thing. They're actually deciding that they want to fight this.
Maniac actually meant to ulti on the heroes and failed to do so. Nice usage, though, of his abilities to try and push back and buy a little time. Might be able to finish the plug and manage to do so. Frodo, he's standing his ground here. Can he finish them off before they finish him off? Still alive. Drox will manage to finish him off, though, as in comes the CM, trying to do anything to buy a little bit of extra time, but will be run down by Powers again. Killer Rabbit trying to stop Powers from beating up on his throne. Will buy a little bit of time, but he just cannot contest against this fight. Gets off the Sunder, but simply not enough. And I think fair to say that this is decided here, as Grey perfectly perform, or I guess you somewhat call as a kind of ratty push draft.
Yeah.
Worked out perfectly for them, and unfortunately, simply not enough abilities for wave clear from the side of Glenwood to finish or to sustain their base, keep things up and alive.
Yeah.
And that does mean that they go down in just under 13 minutes.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, they came directly across a push strategy. They were definitely not prepared to deal with it. But that's just the nature of push strats, right? The entire point of the push strat is to be able to do something like this, where before 15 minutes, the game should effectively be over. In this case, it actually is over. It didn't necessarily feel like Grey were under that much pressure throughout this game, but it was apparent from like what did they pick fourth? Fourth pick was the Pugna, and then the last pick was the Broodmother. And just with those two picks, it really didn't feel like Glenwood had anything that was able to address it, at least for quite some time into the game. They didn't necessarily have very powerful early game. It would take a while before they'd be able to come online and stop this kind of push. Unfortunately, the push just came immediately. And this is just what happens. Whenever you get, sometimes, another harsh lesson to learn about Dota 2, sometimes you get last pick Brooded, last pick Meepoed or whatever. And the game effectively ends right then and there, where it's like, well, can we stop this? No. Not much we can do. If they didn't have this Broodmother and Hosker was allowed to play Dota, because most of the kills that happened on Brood came from the Hosker himself. If he's allowed to have an impact in the game, yeah, 3 kills onto the Broodmother. Broodmother died 3 times. If this Hosker is playing elsewhere on the map, maybe jumping onto the Lycan or onto the Pugna instead, if there's no Brood to have to deal with, probably a different game. But unfortunately, the draft, you got drafted pretty hard with this last pick Broodmother. It happens, and when it happens to you, you just have to deal with it in some capacity. And now we have Grey Gaming completely undefeated today.
I think that they are really looking like the team to beat. I do think that there's one side, Parktown, I believe it is.
Yeah, Parktown High. We haven't seen them yet.
We haven't seen what they're capable of just yet. So tomorrow we will find out. As I'm sure we will cover one of their matches. It'll be interesting to see what the results were from that. But I definitely, from what we've seen at the moment, Grey Gaming First 5 are definitely the side to beat here.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're clear winners just yet.
No.
I do feel the second matchup that they had up against, remind me who it was again, was...
Lichot.
One more time?
Which game? Because Grey today, they just played now against Glenwood. And then earlier they played against the Blow Machina.
There we go. Those are the ones. So I think the second game definitely had a bit of a sting in the tail. So I do feel like there's a possibility for upset there. But right now, Grey Gaming certainly the side to beat. As for Glenwood, I do think that obviously they're a much newer side. They have a lot of work to do if they're wanting to compete up against the stronger sides at the moment. But this is one of the easiest things to identify in Dota. Is the difference between a new player and a bad player. And these are new players. These are individuals that simply have a lot to learn about the game, and the rate at which they will improve will be significant. And in their own right, by virtue of simply being able to attend an event like this, they have experience that normally takes players 5 to 10 years to reach the point where you're actually able to play in these kind of environments, and they're having it from one of the earlier stages. So I think you should definitely watch the space. I'm sure there are players with this school and certainly within the side that will improve drastically in the next year.
They're the team that has nothing to lose, the most to gain by far of any team that's going to be here. So they're probably also going to be one that are smiling the most, because they're like, we knew coming into this that we're here to learn. You've seen a push strat from, like, they had to deal with the push strat, they had to deal with team fight strats, they had to deal with strong lanes. So you get to learn at an actual decent level of Dota. You don't have to just rely on some random pubs where things go awry. So this is, I think they'll be happy-ish. You're not going to be like, jubilant. You just lost the game of Dota. But you're going to be okay with it.
I feel, to be honest, everyone here should be happy. Because
everyone
you know what?
The
reality is, as with any sport or e-sport, you're supposed to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And an opportunity to play at a venue like this certainly is something that is quite special. Once again, it's not quite our VS Gaming Masters Comic-Con level stuff just yet that you're experiencing here, but certainly being able to play in the booths, having an environment like this where you see what it's like, playing amongst other players, meeting new people from other schools. Certainly a memory being forged right here.
No, definitely. Memories that are lost, memories that will be important. And one day they're all going to look back and say, hey, who do you dedicate this win to? Like, you remember that one high school tournament where we started, the beginning. So this is Genesis. I can't wait for Revelations.
I like it. Anyways, I think on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a day here. We will be back tomorrow. I believe our first game is at 9:30. Will be the semi-finals. Today, a little bit easier on your heart, as it were. Obviously, none of the sides going home. They're all going to return again tomorrow, so regardless of the results. Tomorrow, though, different story. Each game is a final elimination. Going straight into the semi-finals. That means that we will have 2 matches, I believe. It was 3?
3, I think.
3 matches that will be streaming tomorrow again, and then we'll be calling it a day.
The Telkom VS Gaming Masters 2019, it's happening!
It is happening, and we're almost at the finals for the CSGO. We're so excited.
You guys have done so much for gaming here. Just tell me a little bit about that 1.1 million rand that you guys have put down for the winners.
I mean, for us from a Telkom perspective, we've been dedicated around providing esports for gamers, and every year we want to do better and better, and it's about increasing that prize pool, making sure that our winners are acknowledged and becoming the celebrities and giving the attention to esports that it needs.
Telkom's been involved with esports and gaming in general for the last 11 years?
11 years, can you believe it, hey?
I mean, you guys have been very supportive of the gaming community. What are you guys thinking about going forward?
I mean, for us, it's making sure that we're improving year on year. If you look at our displays, every year we want to make sure that we're giving out a much better, spectacular event and making sure that the gamers get the recognition that they want. It is a sport and it's an exciting sport, it is growing, and we're there as the broadband provider and ensuring that we're improving and ensuring that our services are improving along those lines, yeah.
Are you guys committed to getting behind VS Gaming at Comic-Con for the next couple of years?
Well, from our point of view, it's always about evaluating and seeing how each and every single show goes and ensuring that that we're getting the value.
Esports players aside, what is Telkom doing for the gamers like us that are sitting at home, live streaming or playing games online?
You know what, I think bringing VS Gaming closer to Telkom has allowed us the opportunity to understand where the grid points are for your gamers. And what we're looking at, please, everyone keep a lookout for us. We're building a product for gamers. It's coming out soon. Understanding all the problems that you've been having with our network from a service, making sure that you are always on. This is where we are understanding the key points are, and we definitely, our product propositions, our product teams are working on it, both from an LTE perspective as well as from a fiber perspective. As you know, from a mobile side, we're introducing a mobile gaming proposition coming out shortly within the next couple of weeks.
Ooh.
We're committed across all our platforms.
So we'll hear about that later.
It's coming.